So hey everybody, it's TR here, and welcome to the Bruneau Canyon Overlook. So hey everybody, it's TR here, and welcome to Bruneau Dunes State Park here in Owyhee County in far southern Idaho. Over my shoulder there is the Bruneau area and CJ Strike Reservoir, which is a reservoir on the Snake River. The Snake River Canyon is just over behind us, and then out here behind us this way is a little place called Hot Springs, and that's where we're going to be headed tomorrow. Also out this way, if you'll note, there's a couple large sand dunes, and that's part of the Bruneau Dunes State Park. And then just beyond those sand dunes is the beginnings of the Snake River Birds of Prey protected area, and that's a wildlife management area where they protect it for birds of prey. Then on over here a little bit further to the west and south is the Sailor Creek bombing range, and we're going to be headed down to that area tomorrow, and that hot springs area I just mentioned, because I know there's like 4 or 5 hot springs down in that area we're going to go check out, and then we're going to see if we can make it into the Bruneau Canyon Scenic Overlook, which looks to be about 6 miles down dirt roads, and so that should be a fun little adventure tomorrow. So we're just out here catching a sunset tonight, enjoying the dunes and the cool air. Should cool off nicely tonight. It has been. It's been awful hot during the day. It's probably up to 95 today. But with this desert and it being open like this, you'll get a lot of what's called radiational cooling, and that'll help cool things off. And it hasn't been too bad. It was pretty pleasant this morning. So we're going to get up and get an early start tomorrow, and get out and see what we can see tomorrow here to the southeast of us. So hey everybody, it's TR here, and welcome to the Bruneau Canyon Overlook. This is a BLM built overlook. In fact, it looks like it got quite a bit of work done on it last year, and actually the road in is pretty good. So just taking a quick stop here to do some photography. So that's the Bruneau River there, and we're at the Bruneau Canyon Overlook, checking this out here today, taking a look down into the canyon. It's quite a beautiful place. I'm going to pan here to the right so you can see these layers in the canyon wall which mark eruptive boundaries. And what that means is that this is a layer of dirt that was deposited between eruptions, between volcanic eruptions. And if you note here, it runs quite a ways across the canyon wall. I wanted to just stop off for a quick moment here and kind of talk about some of the plants you might see out in this particular area. This is pretty typical Idaho desert. They probably get 10 to 15 inches of rain a year here, probably less than that, but it's usually right around 11 inches of rain a year is when you start to see this sort of a vegetative assemblage. And although it's pretty late in July, there's still quite a few species here that we can talk about and maybe get you a little education on. The stuff I'm standing in right here, this is Halogeton. Halogeton glomeratus, I believe is the name of this one. It is a salt-adapted species. And so when you see this species around, typically you know that the soils can be a little bit saline. They probably tend to have a little bit more salt in them. This stuff here in front of me, that is Russian thistle, or sometimes called tumble thistle. That's Salsola kali, really common weed here in the West. I'm hesitant to use the word weed or the name weed for a plant. We'll call them weedy species just to keep the ranchers happy and the range managers happy. So I'm also looking around in here. I see some Indian rice grass that's gone over. It's right here. here on the other side of this little trail that goes down towards the canyon because I wanted to point out something called crested wheatgrass, and that's this. It is a seeded species, and I cannot remember the name of it, scientific name, but you'll see it everywhere here. And it has been seeded in these burned rangelands for many, many years. It is seeded to help kind of crowd out some of the other invasive species, and then to provide some grazing value to the ranchers who graze these types of environments out here in the high desert. The assemblage of species is pretty consistent across these environments because rainfall, water, is the limiting resource in this area. So this patch right here is a fire-adapted species called cheatgrass. It is all over the West, and its scientific name is Bromus tectorum. I happen to know a fair amount about this particular grass because it's one I used during my thesis research when I was attempting to map rangelands like this that had cheatgrass present in them. One of the adaptations of cheatgrasses is that it germinates in the fall, and so what happens is that its roots can get down into the soil and spread out and suck up as much moisture as it possibly can, and that has the effect of crowding out other species. So cheatgrass, it germinates in the fall, it gets its roots down into the soil, and again, I said this is a moisture limited environment here. And so that is an adaptation in that it can stop other plants from getting access to moisture in the soil. Okay? So that's called preemptive utilization. It preemptively can use the water before another species or another plant can get in there, get germinated in the spring and get its roots down far enough. The top parts of the soil are already dry, and so they fail to thrive. This plant here that you see, I'm not sure how well you can see it on the camera, but this is tumble mustard, and I don't remember the scientific name of it either. It'll come to me in a minute. But this is another really common weed in the West. Again, there's that word I don't like to use too often, but we'll use it in this case. And then you'll have to excuse the jet noise because the Sailor Creek bombing range is just over here a little ways, so we're going to get a little bit of jet noise. So tumble mustard puts off these seed pods that look like this, and then at some point it might break off and roll or tumble down the road. The same with the Russian thistle. It's called tumble thistle because in the fall it'll dry up, the stem will break off at the ground, and then the wind will blow it along. As the tumble thistle tumbles along, it's spreading its seeds out, and so that's one of the ways that it spreads. So this plant is rabbit brush, and it is Chrysothamnus viscidiflora. This is green rabbit brush. There's also a gray rabbit brush, Chrysothamnus nauseosus. But if memory serves me correctly, the green rabbit brush, the leaves come off straight. And in the gray rabbit brush, they come off and they tend to twist. This is a common browse species. In other words, this is food for larger animals like antelope and mountain goats and deer. You probably find maybe some deer out here. But anyway, this is a common food for them. Just one more stop here. This is sagebrush. Everybody knows sagebrush, but I bet you didn't know there's like 40 or 50 different species of sagebrush. This looks like Artemisia tridentata. I don't remember how to characterize a lot of these anymore. There's sure a lot of jet noise over there, so I think maybe it's time for us to wrap it up here at this spot at the Bruneau Canyon Overlook and head on over to the Sailor Creek bombing range and see what we can see over there. So that'll do it for this trip. Until next time, peace.